Welcome to Hospitality on the Rise, the podcast about the people shaping the hospitality industry and their journeys. I'm your host, Alice Cheng, founder and CEO of Culinary Agents, hospitality's go-to hiring platform. And I'm here to give you your dose of virtual mentorship. Here, we'll be sharing the stories, lessons learned, and advice from hospitality leaders who've carved out their own path to success. After all, this industry is where many get their start and go on to do incredible things. Whether you're a pro, starting out, or just love the hustle, this podcast highlights what makes hospitality extraordinary: the people. I'm so excited to have June Rodil here with us today. She's a Master Sommelier, one of 29 women in Americas to earn the MS credential. She's the CEO and partner of Goodnight Hospitality, which includes Montrose Cheese and Wine, Rosie, Cannonball, March Restaurant, which retained their Michelin star that was announced last night, even though this is not going to air right now, but I'm still going to be celebrating, and
Yay.
Marigold Club, which also received a mention and distinction. Um, She's a partner of June's All Day, founder of June's Rosé, which I'm going to make the same joke as I did during prep that rhymes. And as I mentioned before, Master Sommelier, vice president of Southern Smoke Foundation, chef committee of World Central Kitchen, and on the court of Master Sommeliers. So, June, there's a whole, literally 3 pages of more things that you've accomplished and everything that I have here. But I'm going to let you share with us. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So I just was, I was joking, but not joking that I have pages of like accomplishments and accolades and like, all these other 40 under 40 and the list goes on and on. But we're curious, how did it all begin? How did you get into the hospitality industry?
It's a pretty common story. I really needed to make some money during college to pay for rent. I was going to school full time, and the hospitality industry is just extremely flexible. I also was a philosophy and literature major, extremely private, isolationist, and I needed to like get out and socialize. And so it ended up being like this really great synergy of needs, right? And the hospitality industry was there to provide. I ended up falling in love with it, throughout my college career. And after I graduated, I finally like made the leap. I became honest with myself and was like, I really like it here. I really feel like myself here. And I took the leap and never looked back.
I love it. Were you kind of, when you said you were probably dabbling and working part-time here and there, and
Mhm.
was there, do you remember a time or maybe a job or a moment where you were like, wow, this is great. This is the thing, or was just like a culmination of
A little bit of both. I mean, so my longest tenureship while I was in college was at the Driscoll Hotel, which is kind of this like old school, allegedly haunted hotel. So I did everything from cocktailing and old school cocktailing, like list of scotches, cigar service. I was 19 years old. I wasn't even drinking legally. And yeah, and so I did everything from that to like overnight and room dining, banquets, and I kind of went up this brigade system, which was a little bit old school. Like we had the white coat and everything. And I ended up uh, becoming a dining room captain. And that's where I started helping the beverage director there do food and wine pairings for the tasting menus. And I like really hooked me. So just having that sense of security and loyalty to a place, and they had that loyalty to me to be flexible enough with my schedule. Like some years I was able to work full time, other times it was like 2 nights a week. And they were willing to work with me to maneuver me throughout the hotel to continue to be able to study and have a job. So I really feel like that was kind of that place that really turned the tables for me of what I wanted to do.
yeah, yeah. And I see, is this a rumor? I see that you started at Olive Garden.
Uh-huh, it's not a rumor. That
I,
was the first not a rumor, can contend. 100%, man, and that training is great. Like, to this day, if I see someone who has tenureship at a Darden restaurant, a Cheesecake Factory, something like
Mhm.
that, Hillstone especially, that pedigree of training is really, really intense compared to other smaller restaurants or smaller organizations, so I have a lot of faith in that training process. So we always end up granting an interview just to see if they're ready to move to a different style of restaurant like ours, but also we know that they have the ability to really care and to follow directions and to be moldable.
Yeah, and I love that, and I highlight that for a couple reasons. As you know, one is as you just said that a lot of these larger institutions or just have a reputation of just training programs, giving exposure, and also it's a great place for. I mean, this industry is like the number one employer for like young for youth, right? It's kind of like the
Absolutely.
number one first place that people get jobs in the U.S. and the skills that you acquire here, even if you just have a bunch of fun like, you can go do other things, and we find that oftentimes people kind of come back because they realize, like, they went and did a bunch of things, and they're like, "I had the best time, and I learned the most when I was working, in hospitality with these
Absolutely.
people, so let me try a different route." And, it's like jobs are stepping stones to careers. You start one place, and you never know where you end up, and look at you. So thank you
Exactly.
for sharing. That's exciting and very motivating, by the way, for folks who, may have stumbled into the industry and are like, I don't know if this is a thing. Well, it's a thing, right?
It's a
And,
thing. You
and
just have to make that decision. And it's okay if
exactly.
it's a slow decision. I think that, it's important to see what's out there. When people leave our company, and I was like, if we cannot provide you the experience, the title, the money that you see elsewhere, like please go out and find it. Like let's just part ways in a really great way because we want those doors to maintain like a back and forth. It's really important in this industry.
Yep.
So absolutely. And no matter where you come from in the industry, like it's so flexible and nimble that people can really brilliant in it extremely quickly. And I don't think that people recognize that, right?
Yep.
Starting from the bottom is something like it doesn't take a long time to really stair step and escalate.
Yep. Yep. So great. So on that note, I'm like, I wanted to take a little detour, but back to you. So you worked at Olive Garden and and then Driscoll and you have all this experience. So this is where you got more exposure to the beverage side.
So I started getting into beverage at the Driscoll. It's when I moved into the main dining room, and it was a very old school dining room. And you had the opportunity to do a tasting menu. Within the tasting menu, there was pairings, and so I started my love for wine whenever I started actually getting allowed to taste the pairings with the food, and that was just so magical to me. That was like that's the special sauce I think when wine or any beverage really enhances food and food enhances wine. So when they go together and this like bond happens to where it takes it to the next level, it's really the thing that sparked my interest. I just found found that so intensely magical, and I keep looking for those perfect pairings. I know that, and now it's just such a minute part of my job, but it's still something that brings me such joy whenever I'm dining, whenever I'm working with a team. So it was that those moments that really solidified things for
I
me.
love it. And at the time, did you know that there was like this whole wine path that
No, who grows up, especially an Asian kid? Like absolutely not. Like the only like my parents, they're not teetotalers, but church wine, little wine here and there. It was never something that they like were against, but it wasn't super day to day.
yeah.
It was more of a special occasion thing. So, and yeah, and nobody grows up saying, "I want to be a sommelier." Like we don't even know what that word is. Yeah, we're not a vocational country, so or super profoundly a vocational country like others, especially in Europe. So it's not something that I even knew existed. So, I mean, I'm a good student. So I started studying about guilds and organizations that enhance these skills. And if it was something, so, of course, like the model is Europe, where this started. And so I really started like looking into other certifications. And that's how I took that deep dive into the Court of Master Sommeliers.
Wow, great, great. Yeah, and you certainly went in there, and then I see that you were also potentially going to pursue law.
Yes. So I actually, yeah, I actually got accepted into law school. I mean, honestly, it was the realization I had a part time job and many part time jobs when I was in college. So there's the hospitality route, and I also had a second part time job for an attorney in Austin. And I was still like have touch base with them to this day. Like every so often, like I'll see a little note as they'll come to one of the restaurants. It's so sweet. But I will work part time for these three attorneys, and they were amazing. And I really enjoyed it. Like a very detail oriented, very operations driven, which is kind of how I became a CEO, is really the realization that like while wine is this passion, there's a lot of different avenues that you can take to what you're really good at. And I am good at organizational skills, operations, um, problem solving. Like that's really how my mind works. And so I saw this opportunity truly I was like, I'm going to become an attorney because it makes this much money. And this much money is what I need to travel the world and eat and drink in the way that I would like to, that I aspire to. So it became this like, became an avenue to actually do what I want. And it was so, and then because I'm a problem solver, I was like, but I'm already in that avenue in a different way. And I think that if I really do this right, I can very much make a career out of hospitality. But I'm a low risk person. So I ended up taking the LSAT, getting accepted, like actually making a plan to move, and then, weighed the pros and cons. And I realized I just didn't want to go back into debt for a career that actually took me away day to day from the things that I already really enjoyed in life. So I put it on the back burner and it never became a front burner ever again.
And, I'm going to latch on to that because I think that's what you just said there is really important in general for people who are making like life decisions, especially career decisions. I don't know at what age this was happening, but it sounds like it was before your time as far as like sometimes being mature, thinking about what do I want, and then working it backwards, right?
Mhm.
Oftentimes we hear about, leaders here will say like advice to their younger self is I wish I slowed down a little bit, asked myself harder questions, thought about things a little differently. It seems like you kind of went through that thought process at a timely time and, laying out your options and making those decisions. So it's basically proof that like, okay, you can take a step back, you can pursue multiple things. But when you ask yourself the hard questions like, what am I trying to do? Like, what am I passionate about? What am I trying to get at? And if the other thing is just the bridge to get you there, then maybe there's an easier or quicker or more logical path directly.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I think like a lot of people now are really like, in the past, you were like, you would go to school to do this thing and then have this job after school. And now people are, it's all about diversification of your portfolio or however you want to state it. But you aren't just defined. It's not a monolith. Like your job isn't your definition, even though I feel like it's part of my personality because I have so many jobs that revolve around one industry. And it's different than just having the same job day to day. And there's boredom in that way. Like going within the same four walls every day is a treacherous feeling for me. And I think it's because I love the hospitality industry. It's so versatile. It's so nimble. Like you're moving constantly. So being in an office a lot really scared me. And I felt like, yeah, it was just an avenue to get to what I really wanted. And then when you realize that there are jobs that allow you to do the thing that you're most passionate about, that's when that was the tough decision, right? It would have
Yeah.
been an easy decision just to continue to go to school. Like I know I'm good at school. I know I'm good at studying. I know I'm good at research. Like I could have been a tax attorney and made six figures way sooner than I ever started, making six figures, but it wouldn't been as fruitful as my life is now.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Those are lessons right there. Life
For sure.
lessons.
For sure. That there are no regrets in my mind in terms of what industry I decided to truly pursue. Like I know that I would have been good and I would have had a completely different and likely good life, but it just wouldn't have been the one that I wanted.
Yeah, yeah. I love it, and, I think, uh, I'm gonna latch on what you're saying here also with you're saying you clearly, knew a lot about yourself and what you wanted and your strengths, and some people
Mhm.
don't, and it's okay, right? It's an ongoing pursuit of, like, what do I want and knowing what your strengths are, etcetera,
Mhm.
but when you do know that, it's like it's great to lean into it and then connect the dots to, what do you want? What are my strengths? What do I know about myself? And figure out how to get to the place that you want to go. Okay. I'm going to go back to your career because you've done a
Yeah.
lot of stuff. Sorry, I
Yeah.
digress. I'm like extracting all these life lessons from you, but I also want to highlight the fact that so you when did you start? When were you like, okay, I'm ready to start my own thing?
Whew. Uh, I will say it kind of fell on me. Like this is so, it's such a weird thing. Like I became a beverage director for McGuire Mormon. Used to be McGuire Mormon Hospitality, and now it's McGuire Mormon Lambert Hospitality Group. And I realized, like, I was looking to really complete that final stage of the Master Sommelier diploma. And I had already become a director of operations for a restaurant group. So wine and beverage actually became such a marginal part of my day to day. And it was very difficult for me to get through that final hurdle if I didn't immerse myself in it more. So I was looking to change jobs. So I had opened, I don't know, it was like ten concepts by that time. And I realized that this very successful company did not have a corporate beverage director, and it was probably time for them to. They had 6 concepts, and when I started talking to them, it was through one of my best friends. She was an executive chef there, and she actually is still there. She just came back to the restaurant group recently, and during that time, just a real weird set circumstance happened. Like, essentially, the company was like, "We want to do a wine bar. We've always wanted to do one, and we want to partner with you." And I was like, "Me? I don't understand what's happening." And I was like, "I would love to. That sounds so great. Like, it allows me to get back into operations. Like, again, I love the creation process. I love opening restaurants. I like that. Ugh, it's so hard, but it's so rewarding once it's done. And there is a thrill that's behind it. There's the pressure. Like, I've always been a game day player. I feel like my best scenarios of like what I can do and what I can push myself to do are always in high stress situations. So being able to realize that, again, I love opening restaurants, and I think they really saw that. They also saw the marketability of what I was doing, and so we opened June's all day. And I honestly wasn't pursuing that. I thought one day I would love to do that. And it was always like, I love partnerships and collaboration. So I always thought I was going to open one with my best friend or like someone. So I knew that I didn't want to just go out on my own. I think the best restaurants have collaborators. Maybe they don't even acknowledge it because it's got someone's name on it. And I remember fighting a little bit about like putting my name on the door. And then it's like the opposite of ego. It's like, please don't put my name on the door. I don't want people to think that I'm going to be there 24/7. And they're like, no, 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 not at all. Of course, that's what happened. Um, but I mean, truly, I'm lucky enough to have a name that's a little bit more all encompassing in terms of like definitions and vocabularies, that it's a month of the year. It could be a dog, like it's a little bit more open ended than Jennifer's or
Right.
right. Like
Right.
Jessica's. So it it worked. It
It
worked, and
it
I
did, it
liked it.
does. Yeah,
It
I
does.
remember when it opened and, it's funny, I was thinking back when I was prepping for this and, remembering when I first met you face to face like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, "How have I never met you?" Because I remember when June's All Day opened, I've dined there many times. I haven't been to Austin in a while, but, just the vibe there, the wine list obviously is amazing, but the food is great too, and it's
Yeah.
just like, I mean, brunch there is just brunch.
It's
I
so
mean,
great. And I will truly say this, like, they really provided such a great opportunity to go into partnership that I don't think really exists very often. And because of that, that's kind of the model that our company does in terms of going into partnership with people, because we want to give people those chances. Because, I latched onto it because at the end of the day, it was a concept that I really believed in, and I really enjoyed my job, so it would have been dumb to say no. And it's this beautiful little corner of Austin that I think has now found its place in a neighborhood. It's really like galvanized into the neighborhood, and that's the dream. I didn't want anything. And I don't think my business partners really wanted anything to just be like, this is a destination. It's just like, no, it's for the neighborhood and the restaurants grow around it together. And that's really what I love about restaurants in general and what we continue to do at Goodnight Hospitality in Houston, because it really is about the people that want to go in there. Like the definition of who you end up being is never just the first idea of what you're going to do when you open a restaurant. It's always going to be the collaboration of the concept, the people that work there, and the people that go there. So it takes a moment to figure out what it is. And Jews All Day really works. And it makes me so happy to go there all
Yeah,
the
yeah, same.
time.
I can't wait to go back. And that's a
Yeah.
perfect segue into, that's just one place that you have in Austin.
Right.
And then you made a change and now you have a growing group in Houston. So take me
Yeah.
through like obviously you have so much experience and you have strengths in a lot and a lot of the skills needed, quite frankly, to be an owner and leader and operator in this industry. And so, at what point were you like, okay, I'm going to start a new thing in another city?
Once again, wasn't an original idea of mine. It was someone else's, my business partners. I mean, I think that, my fatal flaw is I'm really horrible at selling myself. Like I'm not the person that's like, this is what I want to do and I need money to do it. Who am I gonna reach out to? Never. Like, well, what makes me wanna like my ability to do that is to find a person that's going to do that. Like, it's never going to be me because I feel so awkward doing that. So, once again, this was a project that was kind of, the genesis of it was already started. And then we needed to bring that final push of evolution of what the restaurant group was going to be into fruition. And so they brought me in to do that. Right. And as a full partner, because again, it's about operations. Like I love creatives. I am not one. Like my creativity lies in organization and putting a foundation down for that to bloom. It's not the blooming. Like, no, I don't make the food, but I will tweak it so that it's better than what it was originally going to be, which is annoying to a lot of artists. I will say that. Like nobody ever wants to be the person that's like the nag or that's like, let's like rearrange this a little bit and it's going to be a little bit better because people want the acknowledgement of the creation from the start, right? So I realized that one of my gifts was to really adjust things to make that operationally sound so that we can perpetuate that goodness over and over again. And my business partners saw that and asked me to be part of this group. And it was something that, at the time where I was really happy. I wasn't really looking for anything else, but it was also limited in terms of autonomy and in terms of decision making. Like I had a lot, but the next step of evolution for me was to really do it, right? To do it, to be a full owner of a full group rather than just be a partner. So that was my stepping stone that I'll always really appreciate from McGuire Mormon. And they still are my business partners and are great operators, but it's also, there are little tweaks in terms of the way that I operate that I'd like to put out into the world. And I found the right business partners to do it with.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, you talk about, again, we talked about earlier about just knowing your own strengths and knowing how to play, but it's also
Mhm,
helpful with knowing the areas that either you're not good at or you don't want to do or you don't enjoy to do and finding somebody
mhm.
else who is good at that, who enjoys doing
100%.
that stuff, right?
Exactly. Like my business partner Felipe, like when we went in, he was like, I don't want to deal with anything legal, taxes. And I was like, you got it. That is
Yeah.
me all the way. Financials, like, I got it. And I was like, I cannot stand repairs and maintenance. And he was like, absolutely. You'll never have to talk to a plumber, like, you know, a refrigeration person. And I was like, oh, this is fabulous. Yes.
Well, so much of especially when you move into that level of leadership and when you're owning and managing, so much of that is like who you surround yourself with, like whether
Hmm.
your partner or it's just your leadership team or it's your team that's working. all those pieces need to fit together for things to work magically for your guests, right?
Exactly, exactly.
And congratulations, I mentioned briefly in the beginning, you retained your star, for March
Yes.
Restaurant, I know the Marigold Club was, added as a mention. A bib was it
Yes.
a bib or
No, it's a
no,
recommended.
recommended?
It's a bit too expensive for a bib,
Bib,
and then
got it.
Rosie Cannonball retained its bib
Bib,
gourmand.
yes, okay, I know, I'm like, I can't keep
Yeah.
up with all these
It's
accolades now.
I mean, it's a dream. Like, girl, it is a dream. Whoever thought? Like, I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if the entire I would call it a campus. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if the entire campus was received accolades? And then it did. And I was like, okay, wow, what now
Amazing,
now we gotta live up to those standards.
I know. Wouldn't it be nice to win the lottery? No, I'm just putting it out there in the ether.
Exactly, exactly. Now's the time, right?
Yeah, yeah, so I have one question, like, what was one I'm sure it was v there are many, many different hard things, but as you were growing as you're growing from multiple locations and opening new things, and then also managing your other partnership, um, what would be one of the, most challenging things that when you look back on as you were kind of growing and setting things in place? Or maybe it wasn't challenging, but a really important thing that needed to be put in place correctly?
Um, a couple different things. I think like organizationally, it's the people. Like the most challenging thing is has been honestly like recouping from COVID. We opened right before 2020. So like we opened at the end of 2019. So we were only open for like almost 6 months. Two of the concepts and had not yet opened March. So it almost would have been better if we opened during the pandemic because like the entire opening process was a blip in the world that was going so well that we actually felt like we kept reopening and reopening and reopening. So resources were really, really difficult during that time, but we made it through. It just took way longer in terms of like really regaining the momentum than normal because the world in which we emerged post the height of the pandemic was a completely different world for hospitality. So that was extremely difficult and a really, really hard lesson because, I had opened over 15 restaurants at that time and had never experienced anything like that and had one more restaurant to open like on the timeline during it. So we had to make decisions every day and it was very, very grueling. And because of that, I think the biggest difficulty for me has been spacing out my time and dedication to have connections, like real human interactions with our team. We were very much day to day a part of this very small team during COVID because it was, minimized in terms of who could operate. And then as it grew, the expectation was day to day. And that's not really what the expectation was the very beginning, right? As a CEO, like you really can't have one-on-ones every day, even though you need to have one-on-ones every day and hope that that just trickles down. So that's been extremely difficult because I know that the team wants time with me, but I also know that I work the most efficiently alone in certain instances. Right. I'm like 80% alone, 20% with people. That's like the perfect blend in terms of efficiency. And it's just never going to be like, that's not how my job works. That's not how the team wants my job to work. So I've got to find that balance. And I continue to do that. It's extremely difficult because I know that sometimes I'm like, oh, I really need to be looking at these spreadsheets, answering these emails, doing outreach. But when you're constantly reprioritizing, a lot of times the prioritization needs to be like, oh, I actually need to stay here and talk to that person and like readjust or touch base on something that we've done before, but it reignites that fire in them in some way. Because otherwise you lose that soul and that magic if you don't circle back around to your people.
Yeah, absolutely, and switching costs is a real thing. Like,
Hard.
it's
Hard.
hard, it's hard. Well, you seem to be doing something right, in case nobody told that to you, but
Thank you. Thank you. I am we joke because Felipe and I, my business partners, were both immigrants. So we are both survivalists, right? So we always kind of operate in this Sisyphean way. We're just like rolling that rock up that hill over and over again, but we don't mind it because it's what our expectations are. So it's very interesting to converge that with someone who just wants to go to work and do their thing. And I'm like, no, there's another hill every day. I'm like, that's horrifying to someone who just wants to have a good time at work. So we've got to be able to translate that in a more positive way and in a striking way that actually makes people ignite rather than feel downtrodden. Because for us, that's just survival, right? That's
Yeah.
just like we wake up every day and we're just like, "Woo, this could go away tomorrow." So there's a new challenge every day. And I know that I'm the worst at it because like it's the next day. I should be so excited about the Michelin like accolades. And I'm just like, cool. Okay, so for the next year, you're like, relax, dude, relax. And I'm like, okay, no. So for the next year, this is what we need to do. Like, we got to maintain, it's a
I love
lot.
it. I mean, well, that's why you're in your position and your other leaders are in their positions, right?
It's
It's
hard.
like,
I got to have tough skin because definitely people are like, that bitch is crazy.
but
Like,
they're also so glad that you're dealing with the spreadsheets and they're not.
100%, 100%.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to go to quickfire.
Okay.
What advice would you tell your younger self?
Trust yourself. Your gut is right.
What's your advice for someone struggling in the industry?
Take a breath. It's just food and wine.
What's your advice for fellow hospitality leaders?
Take a breath. It's just food and wine.
I love it. On that note, thank you so much, June, for spending your time with us today and sharing your career path and advice. And we can't wait to hear what's next.
Thank you so much, Alice.
Remember, success looks different for everyone in hospitality. No two paths are the same. If you have a leader or a topic you want to hear about, email media@culinaryaagents.com. Hospitality on the Rise is brought to you by Culinary Agents, connecting top talent with employers since 2012. Whether you're hiring or looking for your next opportunity, join us at culinaryagents.com. For more inspiration, subscribe to Hospitality on the Rise and visit hospitalitycareerpaths.com, a free platform by Culinary Agents. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. And if you love this episode, share it with someone who could use a little inspiration.